It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning show that covers fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation here in the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Loophole Optics, America's optical authority, by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors,
by Wallowa County.
Nature is on display in Northeast Oregon, and by The Real News, your fishing resource. Also by Shiloh Inns and Suites, providing you with affordable excellence. And by Mardon Resort, the place for fishing, hunting, and more in Eastern Washington. And now, it's time to head outside with your host, John Cruz.
Have you been out duck hunting yet this year? If you haven't, you really need to take some decoys and head out to a marsh, pond, or river near you, because the first flight of northern birds are making an appearance here in the Northwest. That's what I discovered last week when I went out on a guided hunt with the folks from Mardon Resort. We went out on the duck taxi on Potholes Reservoir in Eastern Washington. Got to go with my son and Northwest Outdoors pro staffer Rusty Johnston. We took home limits of birds. It was a mix of teal, mallards, and pintails, and it was one of the most enjoyable hunts I've ever had. We're going to be talking to two of our hosts on this hunt, Levi and Mike Meesberg with Mardon Resort, later in the show about this and also about the great walleye fishing that's going on right now at Potholes Reservoir. Throw in some strong perch fishing right off the docks at Mardon Resort, and there's a whole bunch of reasons to be heading there right now. Weather is always a consideration for duck hunters as well as deer hunters and anglers too. That's why you're going to want to hear the conversation we're having this week with Josh Dahlke. He's with a company called Scout Look, and they offer mobile apps that not only offer localized weather information, but other things you're going to want to know about when you're in the field or on the water. These are some great apps you are going to want for your mobile device. This is also our Veterans Day weekend broadcast, and with that in mind, we'll be joined by Pepper Aylor with the Freedom Alliance. This organization honors our veterans, and one way they do so is by taking them on some very special trips into the outdoors. One such trip occurred last month on Southern Oregon's Rogue River that combined stays at riverside lodges along with some fantastic guided drift boat fishing. Pepper's going to tell you all about this trip and about other things the Freedom Alliance is doing for our veterans. Lance Mers, our frequent guest on our Max Minute segment, is also a veteran, and he's going to be talking about his experiences in the Army this weekend and how he made the transition from being a soldier to becoming a manager with Max Lure Company, a great Northwest tackle manufacturer. In addition to this, we've got field reports from all 4 Northwestern states, as well as some suggestions on places you may want to visit this weekend and on Veterans Day too. Places that offer both outdoor recreation and a chance to take in some military history. But before we get any further into this show, David Sparks has a timely edition of Sportsman Spotlight that focuses on the dangers waterfowl hunters face from cold water. Sportsman Spotlight is brought to you every weekend by Shiloh Inn & Suites, the hotel chain that honors veterans with a special rate. It's their way of thanking each and every veteran for their service on a daily basis.
Cold water dangers to waterfowl hunters. David Sparks with Sportsman Spotlight. Not to be like your mother, but it is always better to be safe. What with duck and goose seasons upon us, there are some things you really should be aware of. Fish and Game spokesperson Steve Liebenthal with something that may seem obvious but really isn't.
A lot of people have the misconception that water has to be near freezing to cause hypothermia, and that's simply not true. If it's colder than the human body, which is 98.6 degrees, eventually hypothermia can set in depending on the temperature and how long one spends in the water.
Overloaded boats and failure to wear life jackets are leading reasons waterfowl hunters drown every year. A few statistics. In recent years, about 70% of fatal boating accidents victims drowned, and of those, 84% were not wearing a life jacket. 8 of every 10 boaters who drowned were using vessels less than 21 feet long. Now, cold water wicks body heat 25 times faster than air at the same temperature. Anyone who falls in has only a few minutes before the cold renders them numb and unable to swim. Most boats float even when capsized or swamped, so get in or on the boat to get as far out of the water as possible. Wearing a life vest is a must. It'll help preserve body heat and keeps even an unconscious person afloat. So get to shelter, change into dry clothing, and warm up slowly. Not nagging, just saying. This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
They were our brothers, our sisters, sons and daughters. They were our parents, family, our neighbors, and our friends. How can we express the gratitude that we all owe the thousands and thousands of American veterans who have sacrificed so much for our country's freedom? It was they who stepped forward from the time this country was created to fight for everything we know about liberty and freedom. And although we celebrate their victories and console them for their losses by creating monuments and honoring them in parades, the truth is we can never do enough for the freedom they've given us. Perhaps the most important thing we can do is reach out to those veterans closest to us and simply tell them, thank you. Thank you for all you've done for freedom. All of us at Shiloh Inns would like to take this opportunity to recognize the many men and women who have served and continue to serve our country so that we will always be free. Thank you, veterans, from everybody at Shiloh Inns.
Great Places Washington is your one-stop guide to outdoors recreation in the Evergreen State. Great Places Washington. Look for it at Amazon.com or your local bookstore.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. It's our Veterans Day weekend broadcast, and we've got a special interview for you. We're talking to Pepper Aylor. He's the Director of Programs for the Freedom Alliance. They do some great stuff to honor our veterans who have served and put their lives on the line to defend our freedom. Pepper, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John.
Pepper, the Freedom Alliance, what's this organization all about?
Well, first and foremost is honoring and encouraging military service. We do that through several different outreach programs, including a scholarship fund for the children of those who've been killed or become 100% disabled. And we've been able to give out $1.3 million in college scholarships just last year alone.
Wow.
Some other ways we support the military is our guys that go over and get injured, whether that's physically, mentally, visible and invisible wounds. We want to show them that our country appreciates what they do. And so that's what I'm here to talk to you about.
Well, and I want to go ahead and talk about some of these trips that you basically put on for our veterans, to, like you said, to go ahead and honor them and help them heal. And you literally just got off the water here in the Northwest, where you took a group of veterans on a multi-day fishing trip on Southern Oregon's Rogue River. Tell our listeners all about it.
Yes, it's a fantastic trip on the lower Rogue there. We fly these troops into Medford, and they stay the night in Grants Pass, and then the following day early they get up and we go hit the Rogue. And it's a 4-day, 65-mile journey along the parts that are covered under the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act of 1968. It's just a pristine fishing experience. And we do this in October, where the leaves are starting to change and those waters are getting real fishy. So we always have a great time. A lot of fish are caught. But we took 11 combat veterans with all sorts of injuries, including visible and invisible wounds, on this 4-day, 65-mile journey along the Rogue River.
Are you basically in drift boats during the day and kind of just going downstream and fishing along the way?
Yes, sir. We are in these drift boats provided by Briggs Rogue River Trips. They're captained by experts who have been on that river for years and years. A lot of the captains have family history in the area. They are just experts. They tell us what to fish with, make sure we're catching fish the whole time, and even when we do get the trout that we can keep, they will cut it up, fillet it, and we'll eat it right there on the banks of the Rogue.
Oh,
fresh fish.
Delicious, delicious. You know, I'm always looking for fresh fishing reports, and like I said, you just got off the river. How was the fishing on this trip?
Oh, it was wonderful. The half-pounders were coming out left and right, and so somebody always had something on the line. I'm floating down with my camera trying to capture all the fish being reeled in, and it was a good thing we're in the digital age because it was a lot of pictures. And then every now and then we had one guy catch a coho salmon. A few of the guys got adult steelheads ranging from 25 to 30-inch, and bringing those things on the boat. And even a couple of the Chinook were still hanging out after their spawn.
Oh, fantastic. So Tell me again about the outfitter that took you on this trip. What's the name of the outfitter, and are they providing this service free of charge?
Well, it's Briggs Rogue River Trips, who's owned by Brett Clark, and we had one of our supporters go on this trip with his father-in-law several years in a row, and when they heard about our experiential therapy trips, our recreational therapy trips, they said, hey, you need to check out the Rogue River because it's right up your alley. And so we checked it out, and we have a sponsor that covers that whole trip, who's right there in, his father-in-law's in Arizona, and he's right there in Grants Pass. And the owner of the guide service, Brett Clark, has just been amazing in helping us out, giving us discounts where he can.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So where were you staying each night? Were you basically pitching tents, or were you staying in lodges along the river?
We are staying in these old lodges along the river. It has that rustic charm to it. The first night we're in a place called Black Bar Lodge, which is about 9 miles south of the entrance to the Lower Rogue. Great place. They feed you tons of food as soon as you get off the boat, and if it's rained, you go hang out by the fire and warm up, and then you got a big meal coming to sleep it off. And so we're in these small cabins at the lodge there. And second night we're in a place called Merrill Lodge. Mm-hmm. And the third night is at Lucas Lodge in Agnes, Oregon.
Oh, sounds fantastic. Folks, we're talking to Pepper Aylor. He's the Director of Programs for the Freedom Alliance. They go ahead and honor our veterans, support our veterans, and they take them on some of these trips here in the Northwest and around the United States to basically help them heal. Let me ask you about this. How do these trips help to heal our soldiers from the wounds of war, both physically and mentally?
Yes, for a lot of these guys, they've had a traumatic experience while serving our country in war, and that leads to issues with anxiety, anger management, and then as well as some of those physical wounds. If they're missing a limb, they have to accept the new person that they are, injuries and all. And so what this does is taking them to a place like the Rogue River, it creates that sense of there's something greater out there, there's something bigger than myself. It really helps them connect on a higher level with their injuries, as well as talking with the fellow veterans that are there that are also dealing with the same issues. They've all been through the same experience, and they start, being on a boat with someone, you start digesting life, talking at first lightly, and then you may hit some of that deeper stuff. And that's what we're trying to encourage, is that sense of camaraderie that they may have lost since they've gotten out, as well as talking with someone who will understand a little bit better than a therapist who hasn't been to war what exactly they're going through.
I love it. Absolutely love it. What are some of the other trips that you have planned for our veterans coming up soon?
Well, coming up, we have a pheasant hunt in Idaho that we'll be taking a small group of Marines on. We have a deer hunt coming up. We have elk hunts coming up through Colorado. A lot of the deer hunts that are taking place for us are going to be on the East Coast. But I also have a counterpart out in Colorado. There at Fort Morgan tends to find a bunch of different people who will donate these hunts.
Done some hunting up there on the Platte River back in the day. We have got to go, unfortunately, but before we do, how can folks find out more about the Freedom Alliance and, more importantly, support your organization?
Yes, sir. You can find more about Freedom Alliance at www.freedomalliance.org. That's our website that has a lot of the articles so you can read about what we're doing, and there's also a Donate Now link. That's the most direct way to reach us.
And I think it's important for people to know you are not government supported, are you?
Not at all. No, all privately funded.
So, folks, if you want to go ahead and honor our veterans and help them out, especially during this Veterans Day weekend, the website to go to is freedomalliance.org. They're doing great things for our veterans and for the families of our veterans, too, in terms of taking them on trips in the outdoors that help them to heal, in terms of providing scholarships to educate their children, and a whole lot more. That's freedomalliance.org. Again, freedomalliance.org. Check it out. Consider a donation. It will be appreciated. It'll do some great work. Pepper, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. The kind of optics that allow you to see what you need before making that stock or pulling that trigger. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
Wake up to winter in Wallowa County. Grab your camera and don your skis for some Nordic skiing adventure at Salt Creek Summit or Wallowa Lake. Or spend the day on the family-friendly slopes of Fergie Ridge. Or slip into a set of skates and enjoy some time on the ice at our outdoor ice rink. Need to warm up? Then grab a cup of coffee or hot chocolate at one of our fine coffee and confectionery shops. And when evening comes, enjoy some of Wallowa County's fine dining and gaze at the stars before you dream of tomorrow's adventures. Your winter adventure begins at www.wallawacountychamber.com.
Psst, yeah, you, the guide, outfitter, or outdoors business owner who's listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Have you ever thought of becoming a sponsor of our show? We've got local sponsor opportunities at all 50 of the stations that carry Northwestern Outdoors every week, and we've got some network opportunities too. If the outdoors is your business, we can help you with your advertising needs. Contact me, John Cruz, through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. That's northwesternoutdoors.com, helping you get the word out about your outdoors company.
You demand quality performance from your binoculars, whether you use them in the field, on the water, or at a stadium. But you don't want to spend a fortune. That's where the BX McKenzie binoculars from Leupold come in. These armored, waterproof binoculars are both comfortable and dependable. Look for your McKenzie binoculars at quality sporting goods retailers near you, to include your Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, or Northwest Bi-Mart stores. BX McKenzie, bringing your world into sharper focus, only from Leupold.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. This is our Veterans Day weekend broadcast, and I guess I'd like to go ahead and talk to you out there who are business owners, especially small business owners. Have you considered hiring a veteran? I'm a veteran myself, and I'll tell you what, if you hire a veteran, you're going to be getting an awfully good employee for a lot of reasons. Number one, great work ethic. Number two, can-do attitude. That's one thing that they teach you in the military. Everything is possible. Some things are just tougher than others. And that's the sort of person you want working for you. Max Lure Company is in that same league. They actually hire veterans, and one of them that they've hired is a person, you get to hear her on the show all the time. It's Lance Mers. Lance, tell me a little bit about your military service.
Well, John, I joined at the ripe old age of 18, and I didn't look back. I got to see the world from different perspectives, and I spent 20 years in the Army.
And you were military police, served all over the world, like you said, served some time in Germany, and God bless you. Thank you for your service. And so you got out. How did you end up with Max Lure Company?
Honestly, John, it was being in the right place at the right time. I came home to be with family, and I got bored sitting at home. And I started looking for a job, and I heard about Max Lure. Of course, who hasn't heard of Max Lure? Who doesn't have a Max Lure wedding ring in their tackle box?
Absolutely.
So once I heard about this, I jumped on the bandwagon. And the beauty of this is that the Max Lure staff is completely supportive of veterans, and he gave me a chance. And here I am talking with you.
Well, there you go. And it's been a great pickup for Max Lure Company. Lance does a great job on their management side of things, hard worker. And like I said, folks, you're helping veterans, but you're helping yourself too. So again, if you're a small business owner, consider hiring that veteran that comes to see you, or getting with your local VA or local veterans organization and let them know you're interested in hiring a veteran. You're going to be doing the right thing, and you're going to be helping your business as well. And that wraps up another Max Minute from Max Lure Company. Find out more at maxlure.com.
Camping fare shouldn't come down to cold cereal for breakfast and charred hot dogs for dinner. You deserve better than that. And at Camp Chef, we give you the gear you need to prepare great meals in the great outdoors. Our gas stoves, camp ovens, smokers, Dutch ovens, and full line of outdoor cooking gear gives you what you need to prepare everything from gourmet food to simple and tasty hot meals for you and your family. Look for Camp Chef products at your local sporting goods dealer or online at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
It's a great time to go fishing, and whether you're heading to the lake for trout, to the saltwater for salmon, or fishing the Columbia for Chinook or steelhead, The Real News has got you covered. The columnists at The Real News are just like you, die-hard anglers. Better still, they share their expertise to help you have a great time on the water. The Real News has been going strong for 26 years and prides itself on being Washington's only sport fishing newspaper. Look for your copy at local sporting goods retailers or subscribe online at therealnews.com.
From the Columbia River to Puget Sound, the Coastal Conservation Association in the Pacific Northwest works to conserve the fish we love and does so while protecting our heritage of sport fishing. To find out more, go to ccapnw.org. Again, that's ccapnw.org.
Guy, you keep on talking just like every year, and you're heading up north to test your hunting luck. Your truck's all loaded with Blaze Orange and beer. So get up there and I hope you get your buck.
I hope I get a buck. I hope I get a buck.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors, we're talking to Josh Dahlke. He's the communications director for Scout Look. And Scout Look is a company that has mobile apps for hunters and anglers. Josh, what's this all about?
Yeah, John, actually, Scout Look's been around now for almost 4 years, founded in New York, upstate New York, by a couple of avid deer hunters, and their goal was to create a system of apps and also a website that work together to serve weather forecasts for hunters and fishermen, and also, in addition to those weather forecasts, a variety of other tools that is going to help individuals maximize their time in the field and on the water.
Well, I like the concept here. Let's go ahead and break down each one. Let's go ahead and start off with that app that you have for hunters. Tell our listeners more about this.
Our flagship app for big game hunters is called Deer Log, and what this is it offers detailed, very pinpoint, precise weather forecasts for unlimited saved locations. So in other words, you can go in and you can save deer stands, ground blinds, or any of your other hunting locations to one account, and you can go in and you can view weather data for each of those locations all through the smartphone app or on the website, all served through one account. So whether you save a location in the app or on the website, you're going to be able to see it cross-pollinate between the two. So no matter where you are, you can check your hunting conditions before you're going out on your hunt to best plan your time afield. You can do this hour by hour, do it 72-hour forecast, 7-day forecast, and it gives you all the weather conditions you'd expect, such as temperature, precipitation, and barometric pressure, the things that really matter to big game hunters. But then in addition to those basic weather conditions, you're also going to have a logging system to track deer activity and keep notes, and a feature we call Scent Cone, which is a wind map that shows exactly where your scent stream is going to blow from a hunting location hour by hour over the course of 72 hours.
You know, I was going to ask you how this differs from just a regular weather forecast on your regular mobile phone, and you just nailed it right there. I think that is huge. Now, as big as that is, you've also got another app for anglers, too. Tell our listeners about that.
Our Fish Log app, which is also free, all of our apps are free. You can actually check weather conditions for your fishing locations, just like with the hunting app, and you can save unlimited fishing holes, whether it be on lakes, streams, or rivers. So you can revisit those and, again, go out and plan your fishing trip before you actually head on the water by checking the weather forecast for those locations. But additionally, for anglers in specific, there are two main features. One of them is drift point wind maps. So you can actually plan your drifts. If you're going to be drift fishing on any body of water, you can see where your boat's going to blow from a location by looking at the drift point wind map. And then also we've got a fish log feature that allows you to log your catches with a touchscreen navigation, very simple to do, so you can do it on the water or actually after your fishing trip if you want. And in addition to the touchscreen part of that, you can log your fish by simply taking a picture. So if you're out there catching fish, odds are you're going to be taking pictures anyhow. Well, when you take a picture of your catch with Fish Log, it automatically captures the weather conditions for that given moment. So you can revisit your logs and actually determine patterns that it's going to help you catch more fish once you start to kind of unveil these secrets that you see with your angling success tied to specific weather conditions.
Wow, this is good stuff, folks. We're talking to Josh Dahlke. He's with Scout Look. They produce apps for hunters and anglers. And you mentioned that these were free, but I also saw you had a couple of apps that just cost like, what, $2 a piece? What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, actually, originally a couple of our apps did cost some money, anywhere from $2 to $4. And at this point, the only app that still costs $2 is Scout Look Hunting Weather. And that's what the name will be if you go find it on Android or Google Play or iTunes. But other than that, all of our apps are free now. So what you're going to get with Scout Look Hunting Weather is an ad-free version. So you're not going to have any advertising within the app. But coming here in 2015, you're going to see a major overhaul in all the Scout Look apps. In fact, we're going to have the fishing app is going to be one fishing app, and then the hunting apps, we currently have 3 different versions, are all going to be boiled down into one app. So it's going to make it a lot easier to not only find, but also manage from a hunting or fishing perspective. You know, you're only going to have to go download one app, and we're going to have all the current features plus a whole pile more that we're working on right now.
Oh boy, folks, you got to love technology. And one other thing we need to talk about is the website itself, because it's not just a website that promotes your apps. You've got a lot of good content on ScoutLookWeather.com. Why don't you go ahead and preview some of the things that our listeners are going to find there when they log on?
Yeah, John, actually, we're making a very strong effort right now to provide our users with content that's meaningful and worth their time. There's kind of a big push out there in the outdoor media community right now to kind of provide as much content as possible, and I've seen sort of a decline in quality across some of our media competitors.
It's funny about the internet because it's a big wide stream, but it's a very shallow one, and that's kind of what I like about what you have there on your website. You've got some in-depth stuff there. Go ahead and tell our listeners more.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that's really what we're striving for. Like you just said, the internet is filled with, frankly, a lot of racket nowadays, but we're really trying to provide meaningful content. So what you're going to find is both hunting and fishing content with a very significant emphasis on videos, just because the world of online video is becoming so much more popular, especially with all the advances in technology and the ability to stream videos from smartphones. And no longer do we have the limitations of a slow internet connection. Almost anybody has the ability to access streaming videos online. So you're going to find whitetail hunting tips, elk hunting advice, fishing tips for freshwater and saltwater. And also, you're just going to find a lot of great entertainment and product reviews so that, you know, you can see what products are out there, what's new, the latest and greatest. And at the end of the day, our whole goal is to serve our audience with content that's going to help them improve their experience in the field or on the water.
Well, folks, Josh has probably got one of the best jobs in the world because he has to go out, this poor guy, and basically provide content for you by doing things outdoors. And I understand that you just got back from an elk hunt in New Mexico. Why don't you tell me and my listeners a little bit more about how that went for you?
It's a blessing to be able to have a job like this. It's still a lot of hard work. Some people just assume that, well, what do? You just go out there and hunt and fish all the time? Well, that's a big part of it. But fortunately, my hobby, or I should say my hobbies, which are under the outdoor umbrella, cross paths with my career. So I'm able to kind of double up on some things. And this elk hunt that I just went on in New Mexico, it was a guided hunt, but it actually was a lot more difficult than we anticipated. Spent about 30 hours on a water hole, didn't see any animals, and then we did a lot of different spot stalk attempts, but we were not able to put it together until the final morning. We were literally 15 minutes from walking back to the truck, going back to the lodge and packing our bags when we finally were able to fire up a bull. And I was able to get that bull within 50 yards, shot him with a Remington 700 Ultimate muzzle loader. Only took about 5 steps before he went down, and now I've got a freezer full of elk meat, so I'm very blessed and excited about that.
Absolutely love it. And folks, you can find out more about this by logging on to ScoutLookWeather.com. Again, great outdoors content, lots of good stories there, and more importantly, apps that you're going to appreciate as both a hunter and an angler. We have got to go, Josh, but again, ScoutLookWeather.com, that's the website you want to go to, and I want to thank you for coming on to Northwestern Outdoors Radio today and telling us all about this.
Thanks for doing such a great show. I really appreciate it.
I hope I get big buck.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
I'm Ward Burton. Think that's fast? That's nothing compared to how fast America is losing its wildlife habitat. Join the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and help us protect millions of acres. Visit elkfoundation.org or call 1-800-CALL-ELK.
It's getting frustrating as I thought to myself, were they coming at all? I blew 3 quick blasts on my wooden goose call. Rain's still pouring, it was getting boring. Then I thought I caught a sight of something soaring. A big flock of geese I could barely see. They were coming straight in, shaped like a V. I got myself ready, held my gun steady. A couple seconds more, oh my hands are getting sweaty. I should wait a little longer, but what's the use? I put a finger on the trigger and bust the goose.
Will you shot it? Do you got it? Do you hit it? So go
just bust the goose.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Mardon Resort, located at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. As a matter of fact, we're broadcasting from Potholes Reservoir right now. I'm with Levi and Mike Meisberg, co-owners of this family resort, and we're out duck hunting on the duck taxi. Levi, for our listeners that don't know, what exactly is the duck taxi?
Well, John, it's basically exactly what it sounds. We pick you up at the dock, we set your decoys, we put you in a nice blind so you can hunt and do your own thing, and we provide you the ride back and forth across the lake, so hence the taxi name.
Well, not only that, folks, you can do this as either an unguided trip, like Levi just described, or as a guided trip like we're enjoying today. We've had a really fun morning, got a real mixed bag of birds in terms of pintail and teal and mallards as well, and the birds keep on flying. And the great thing about early November, here we go. We got a bird coming in.
Take him.
And off we go. Oh, and there's another bird down, folks. You just got to love live radio. So there's another bird down. Dog's going to go out and grab that one. And like I said, Levi, the great thing about this time of year is it just keeps getting better. The birds are really going to start building up between now and Thanksgiving, aren't they?
Yeah, we're still in what you would call the early part of the season. So we're getting some new birds every day like you've seen this morning. You know, we're getting close to our limit of pintail. We've seen a lot of pintail, got a few mallards, you know. That one that's dead right there is a widgeon. So, you know, you're getting a little mixed bag. Here in the next week to 10 days, 2 weeks, we'll start seeing more of an influx of northern birds. That's where you start seeing your volumes of mallards. So, you know, this, for me, I enjoy this early time of year because, I mean, we're out here in basically hoodies. You know, it's 55 degrees out, and I think we got about 20 ducks so far, so we're having a little fun with the gun. And so, you know, early season's nice, but what guys really want, you know, starts here in about the next week, 10 days. First part of November, middle part of November, you get those bigger groups, bigger mallards, what everybody dreams about when they go to sleep at night.
Oh, absolutely. And again, folks, we've had good groups of birds coming in today, but it's just going to get better. And this is really easy to do. You just go ahead and call Mardon Resort. The phone number is 1-800-416-2736. That's 1-800-416-2736. Or just go to their website, mardonresort.com, and ask for a spot on the duck taxi. You can go unguided, you can go guided, but it's a lot of fun. And switching gears, we need to talk about the cast part of a cast and blast getaway here. Mike, the walleye fishing has been absolutely fantastic this fall, hasn't it?
We've enjoyed a walleye fishery for at least 15 months now that many people have never been able to enjoy. Just lately, it's turning into blade bait fishing for walleye anywhere from 15 to 65 feet deep. We catch a lot of walleyes spring and all summer long this year with spinners and night crawlers. Basic setups, you can use the Max Lure Smiley blade, some beads, and the slow death hook or the 2-hook setup with night crawler. And we've been seeing a lot of people that enjoy fishing that aren't necessarily the kind that limit a lot. And this year, they're limiting, and it's been just amazing. The other day, there was an individual that's been using blade baits, and they fished 45 minutes and had 42 walleye in 45 minutes. limits, and that's a fairy tale to most of us unless you're the guy in the boat with him. But what was really exciting again this year was we host the Department of Fish and Wildlife Warm Water Biological Team, and they do a study, as they've done for 12 years now, and this year the study was completed in 1 day of onshore work, and in years past it's been 3 days. Another good thing about that study is it's how they determine the health of the walleye, and they identify the different age classes, and they look at a part of their body called a otolith that is just like what a tree is identifying with tree rings. And bottom line, the study said, without the data being tabulated at this time, the study indicated we have lots of walleyes, we have 7 different age classes, and the population on walleyes again will allow us the liberal 8 fish limit. Now the big fish come in this time of year, this late November until the middle of January. You'll see some giant fish. We saw the largest fish we've seen in 2 years just the other day. It was a 33 1/2 inch walleye that was just over 15 pounds. And no matter where you live, that's a fish of a lifetime.
Absolutely, folks. Again, the good times are truly back here at Potholes Reservoir. I've been coming here for years. I've never seen it better than this, and now is the time to come. You can go ahead and do a cast and blast getaway, go duck hunting in the morning, walleye fishing in the afternoon, and then grab a meal at the resort and stay the night in one of the park cottages, or bring your RV or one of the new camper cabins. And you can find out all about it at Mardon Resort. That's mardonresort.com. That's the website again, mardonresort.com. Their motto is, where the fish bite and we don't. And right now the fish are biting. Mike, Levi, thanks for telling us all about this and for a great day out here through Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
John, it's always a pleasure.
In other field reports, Jim Stahl with Northwest Fishing Guides just got back from the Snake River, where he had a very good early season foray for steelhead, landing 6 to 8 fish a day in his boat. Jim and his clients were free drifting eggs and corkies on the Snake near the mouth of the Grand Ronde River. This fishery off the Grand Ronde should continue to do well through the end of the year. Jim is in Mexico with his wife, fishing for marlin right now, you lucky dogs you, but he plans on targeting coho on the Snohomish in mid-November and then transitioning to steelhead in late November on the Skykomish and Skagit rivers in the North Sound. Jim's going to be free drifting eggs and yarn, always a fun way to fish. You can find out more about booking a trip with Jim for salmon or steelhead this fall by going to his website at nwfishingguides.net. That's nwfishingguides.net. In Oregon, crabbing is closed in the ocean but open in the bays, and traditionally, this is a really good month to drop a crab ring off a pier if you're after some tasty Dungeness crab. 2 areas in particular that stand out for November crabbing for both boaters and land-based crabbers are Winchester Bay and the waters around Bandon on the southern Oregon coast. The crowds may be gone in November, but the shellfish are still there, so bundle up and make a day of it. Good news for trappers in Idaho, where the Fish and Game Department says you don't have to stop by one of their offices anymore to purchase a trapping license. Until recently, you had to do that, but now you can get your trapping license at any licensed vendor in the state if you have completed your fur taker harvest report from the previous trapping season. You can also purchase your license online by going to the license page on the Idaho Fish and Game website, or call the number you'll find there and get it that way as well. Credit cards are accepted. Welcome to the 21st century, Idaho Fish and Game. At least that's what some trappers are probably going to say now. And in west central Montana, big game hunters, by and large, came away pretty happy during the October opening weekend. According to Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, more hunters passed through Region 2 check stations this year, and they had more animals too. 2,775 hunters stopped at check stations, and they had 183 animals total to show. This included 88 elk, 18 mule deer, 71 white-tailed deer, 3 bighorn sheep, 1 black bear, 1 moose, and a lone wolf. All you needed on top of that would have been a partridge in a pear tree, and you could have called it an early Christmas. The best success, especially for white-tailed deer, seemed to be around Bonner, where 47 were checked in. Hunters near Darby did well too, harvesting 24 white-tailed deer, a 74% increase over the average. On the elk side of the house, though, success was down at the Bonner Creek, Darby, and Anaconda check stations, and the harvest of 17 elk around Anaconda was the lowest opening weekend harvest in the area since 2007. If you're wondering how things went for hunters near Missoula, well, so am I. Due to staff shortages, the check station near there at Fish Creek was not open this year. We've got to take a very quick break, and I mean a really quick one, so stick around because we've got a number of upcoming events and places for you to visit on Veterans Day that you're going to want to hear about, whether you're an outdoors enthusiast, history buff, or just want to pay your respects to those that serve.
I'm Bob Loomis, and I fish for walleye. Sometimes when I'm out on the water, I feel like a destroyer captain hunting for targets with my electronics. I'm not hunting submarines, though. I'm hunting fish, and when I find that big one on the fish finder, I want to make sure she's going to bite. That's where the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig from Max Lure comes in. The Smile Blade spins and flashes at ultra-slow speeds, and the one-of-a-kind red hook keeps that bait moving in a way the fish can't resist. It's the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig. You're the destroyer. This is your depth charge. Only from Max Lure.
Psst, yeah, you, the guide, outfitter, or outdoors business owner who's listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Have you ever thought of becoming a sponsor of our show? Contact me, John Cruz, through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com for more information. That's northwesternoutdoors.com, helping you get the word out about your outdoors company.
More habitat equals more wildlife. Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. Join the habitat leader and help create wildlife habitat in your community. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
You're back with our Veterans Day weekend broadcast of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. In honor of Veterans Day, Washington State Parks are opening their properties to the public for free on the 11th. That's right, no Discover Pass is required for your day visit, and this would be an appropriate day to visit some of the state parks that were once military forts. Places like Fort Worden or Fort Flagler near Port Townsend, Fort Eby and Fort Casey on Whidbey Island, or Fort Columbia and Cape Disappointment near Ilwaco. All of these places offer not only lots of outdoor recreational opportunities and fantastic views, but also the chance to find out about how soldiers lived between the 1890s and World War II here in the Pacific Northwest. Another place to get this sort of experience on Veterans Day is Fort Stevens State Park near Astoria. The 2nd U.S. Artillery, a group of Civil War reenactors, will be on hand, and there's a good chance you're going to hear the sound of cannon fire off and on during the day. Fort Stevens, by the way, is the only place on the mainland United States that was ever attacked in World War II. It happened one night when a Japanese submarine opened fire on the installation. You can find out all about that and history at the fort going all the way back to the Civil War by visiting the historical area at Fort Stevens State Park. I don't have any military-themed parks to send you to in Idaho this week that have anything going on for Veterans Day, but you might want to pay a visit to a national forest in the Gem State or to any other national forest location in the United States this weekend through Veterans Day because day use fees are being waived in honor of Veterans Day. That's right. No recreation pass is required to go to some of those trailheads here in the Northwest or fee areas, which include destinations like Lake Como in Montana's Bitterroot Valley or the Mount St. Helens National Volcanic Monument in southwest Washington. Finally, the Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument near Hardin, Montana would be a really poignant place to visit on Veterans Day. Best known as the site of Custer's last stand, there's also a military cemetery right next to the visitor center where the remains of veterans who have fought for our country are interred, to include winners of the Congressional Medal of Honor, our nation's highest honor. Even if you don't make it to one of these special places on Veterans Day, I hope you'll take an hour out of your day to attend a local Veterans Day parade or just make it a point to shake the hand of a veteran you know and thank him or her for their service. The number of people willing to serve on behalf of our country is dwindling, and in this day and age of entitlements and what's in it for me attitude that seems to permeate our culture, it's nice to know there are still people out there willing to serve and protect our freedoms. God bless them. If you have a chance, go to our website, northwesternoutdoors.com. If you go there, you're going to find links to find out more about our guests, and you'll also be able to listen to last week's show, just in case you missed it. Speaking of hearing our show on the internet, there's another place you can go to. It's called WRVO Radio. It's found at RenoViolaOutdoors.com. Our show and 29 other ones air on this internet radio station. That's right, you get 24 hours a day of outdoors radio, 7 days a week. It's a lot of fun. It's a great station. We're proud to be part of it. It's WRVO Radio, and the website again is RenoViolaOutdoors.com. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. We've got a Facebook page too. It's Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Follow us, like us. We're always putting things on there that don't make it onto the show. That's all for this week. I hope you have a meaningful Veterans Day and that you find yourself spending time afield as we head into the heart of November. Until next time, take care. God bless. Have a good Veterans Day and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.